I have no hesitation in stating that Anne Reilly, managing director of Paycheck Plus, is a person of the highest integrity and gives 100% to any job which she undertakes. Likewise, she expects that same 100% contribution from her employees. Paycheck Plus is growing from strength to strength due to Anne's dedication to service for her customers, which I am proud to be one of. Anne Reilly, that is one of many recommendations on your LinkedIn, CEO of Paycheck Plus. You're very welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Rian. Lovely to be here with you.
Tough to have you. As usual, I want to take a step back to the beginning and kind of just start from there and see where it goes. You went to college, UCD, studied commerce, and you've got a variety of other diplomas from IMI. You grew up in County Louth. What was that like growing up there?
It was a fantastic experience. I didn't necessarily think that at the time. I think you have to go away and come back to really appreciate it. But my parents were really hard workers. We had a very small farm, so the farm income was supplemented in various different ways by both my parents. So we knew what hard work was. At 8 o'clock on a Saturday morning, my dad would fling open the door and let a yell into us, that the best part of this day is gone. It's time to get out there and get the wellies on and get the work done. So we had several different things on the farm. Like we had sheep, we had pigs, we had grain, we had, over the different years. Then my dad was actually one of the first mushroom producers in Ireland. So that was an interesting model to work on. And I suppose at that stage, we were teenagers. I was the eldest of 5, and I think Dad thought, because I was doing accounting at school or business studies as it was then, that I could manage this business for him. So not only did I have to work on the farm and pick mushrooms and shovel, what, out of those big polystyrene tunnels, I had to look after the accounts for the business. And then the one good thing was I knew how to drive a tractor and trailer. I learned how to drive a high-ace van going backwards. Dad insisted that we learn how to drive going backwards in the yard. He set up these bales, and in a high-ace van, you can't look out the side windows or the back windows. So that was an experience. So I remember one morning going to the Dublin market with our produce, with the mushrooms. So we got up at 4 o'clock to take them out of the fridge, loaded them into the van, off we went, so that we'd be lined up at 6, in Smithfield Market. And the guys saw this, young woman coming in, and they could see them putting their head in their hands, saying, "Oh, this one is going to collide with all our fruit and veg here. Disaster zone, this woman driver coming in, So I said, no, this is not going to happen. I know this too well. So I pulled in the side mirrors, and I was able to get in without a half an inch to spare, Wow. So I suppose that really showed us the value of learning to reverse backwards with no windows to look out of. And to this day, it's one of the things I say to my husband, he can't reverse a trailer as well as I can. So growing up on a farm has many merits. It was definitely hard work, and that's the way we were raised. Mum was a school teacher as well, and I suppose education was very much the key highlight in our house. There were days when times were really, really tough. I know when the harvest check came in, that was the real time for celebration, because that came once a year, and that's when we got our new clothes and any treats that were to be got for the year. So actually, when we ended up, myself and my husband and our 4 boys ended up moving back out here beside Mum and Dad, we actually put the name Harvest Hill on the house, because it had such good memories for us in terms of the harvest coming. So the ethic of good work, the ethic of education, I suppose, has really stood me well, and it's something that I've carried through life. I think every day is a learning day, and we need to continually develop and improve ourselves in order to be able to develop and improve our businesses and our team and all of that. So it's a progress. I'm still studying, and I hope I'll never give up. I remember at one stage doing an Open University course, and there was a lady on the course in her 80s. And I was shocked, that she was sitting down to do this. And she said, "Well, I'm never too old. I didn't learn before now, so I can't go back on yesterday." As they say, the best time to plant an oak tree was 20 years ago. Second best time is today. So that's the approach
You're
I
dead right.
continue to
Yeah.
learn.
I won't give away her age, but my mother herself has gone back to college to do a degree as well. Hats off to her. I don't even know where to start there, Anne, but I have a question at the end of what I'm about to say. I'm slightly embarrassed because growing up, I had a job for 2 summers picking apples at a farm that they brought those apples and made Bulmer's cider from. One of the fields local to me picks. You can pick the apples, and I thought I was a hard worker. But when I hear you say not only did you pick the mushrooms, you drove the tractor, drove the highest van, you did the accounts. It seems like you just managed the entire thing. Out of all the things that you did growing up on the farm when you were younger, what was your favorite thing to do?
I suppose when we did have free time, I actually enjoyed walking the field. Now, I know that sounds a bit daft, but when you grow up in the countryside and you have access to the fields like we have here behind us, and as I look out my back window and I see them, we knew every nook and cranny of them. We knew where the birds were nesting. We knew where the primroses were going to come up on what hedge. We knew the blackthorn, the whitethorn. And I think that's something that I really missed when we bought our first house in town. So coming back to that and knowing that my children will grow up having that experience, I think was, it sounds a little bit naff, I suppose, but COVID has been a time where we really start to look at things like that and appreciate nature and appreciate the cycle of life and all of that. So I suppose wandering those fields, it was probably what we call today mindfulness, in that we could we were swept off into a different little world, and our imagination went away with us, and all of that kind of stuff. So I suppose that was probably the favorite part. And seeing, in the spring, the lambs being born, sometimes bringing them in beside the radiator because maybe their mum rejected them, and feeding them with a baby's bottle and letting them grow up and all the rest. Actually, it just sparks a memory for me that my second son, who is now 22, he had this pet lamb when we moved out here and couldn't part with the pet lamb. Ultimately, this lamb grew and grew and grew and grew into this big woolly sheep that he insisted on keeping in the back garden. But the sheep grew up alongside the dog, and the sheep didn't realize that, when somebody was coming to the house, that he shouldn't bark like the dog did. So we had this barking sheep when somebody would come to visit. So I suppose that was great. My third son, he spent his confirmation money on buying chickens and set up his own little business, selling eggs to the local neighbours. And then he got a cockerel and he hatched his own eggs and had his own little chicks coming along and all of that. So I suppose it does open up entrepreneurship in a way that's kind of different, and has that quality of life where you see the various stages of life and nature and all of that. So I suppose that was the best part. The hard work, yes, it was hard, but it was enjoyable as well.
It sounds like your kids are lucky to have a mother like you.
I'm not sure they'd agree.
who who were you as a kid growing up most influenced by?
I think probably my grandmother. My grandmother, I mean, if she lived today, she would be well over 100 years old. But I was the eldest grandchild on both sides of the house, my mum and dad both being the eldest. And my grandmother was way ahead of herself in terms of her savviness and, fighting the plight for women. And now she wasn't a real feminist or anything, but she knew what was really important in life. And she was actually a brilliant coach, only I didn't realize that's what she was doing at the time. So when she would take me for a Saturday or whatever, and we'd go off with our little on our little missions, she used to sell eggs in town or fruit or whatever it was, and I'd go with her, and I might get an apple, as a treat or something like that. But if I asked her questions, she never actually gave me an answer. She made me figure it out for myself, and I think that was really wise. She was very insistent that all her daughters, she had 5 daughters and 3 sons, and then her granddaughters would learn how to drive by the age of 17. She said, a woman who can drive has independence. And then the other thing she told me, it's funny now, but very wise. She said, always have your own little money for the little women's treats. So it was save that little bit that, you didn't kind of have to feel guilty about asking your husband for money as it was at that time to buy something that a woman would like to buy for herself. So very wise woman, way ahead of her times, I think, very, very much a coach rather than a dictator or rather than laying down the law. She got people to do the right thing in a very subtle way by coaching it out of them. Only I didn't recognize that. It's only when I did coaching myself that I realized that that's actually what she was doing. So that was very clever on her behalf. So I think she influenced me. And there are times, I suppose, if I'm coming up against a question or something I'm pondering, and if I put it out there, I somehow find that she's asking me the questions that are helping me arrive at that answer. So she's still there very much in spirit with me.
Do you mind me asking her name?
Her name was Lily Mooney.
Lily Mooney sounds like an impressive woman.
Yeah, she was. She was brilliant. And I mean, all her granddaughters and well, grandsons as well, but particularly the granddaughters, we've all done amazing things. We're very strong women, I think. Great family. She really believed in the power of family, and she said cousins are no good unless you know each other. And she's so right. We've remained very, very close. There's 26 of us. We have our get-togethers on a very regular basis. Now it's on Zoom, obviously, but also a very musical family. So when we get together, it could be well into the early hours of the morning by the time we actually finish up. So great fun all together. So
my girlfriend's family did this get together maybe 3 years ago down in Wexford, and they got the entire family, and I'm not just talking first, second cousins, like people they didn't even know of. And there was a scroll that they had to put, the tables, the community center to fold in and fold out. They had to put maybe 15 of them in a long straight line and get this scroll. And I was bemused because they were singing songs, they were eating food, but there was maybe 250 people that came in throughout the day. And I was like, wow, this is amazing. My family's are very well connected as well. We have Chris Kindle. We meet up every couple of weeks. But this just took the cake for, I've never seen a family connected as well as my girlfriend's family. Look, I want to move on. And I do want to talk about Paycheck Plus, but before that, you've spent some time working at other companies, Heinz, Unilever. What did those roles teach you? Did you take any lessons from those roles into when you started your own company?
I definitely did. Yes, Unilever was my first job, an absolutely fantastic company to work for. Their culture was really, really good, very, very close, very, very friendly, almost like working in a big family where everyone was there to support everybody else. And I learned so much there. Huge on compliance, on processes and systems and all of that kind of thing. So that was really it's only when, in later years that I actually realized how fantastic an experience it was. Heinz had a very different culture. When I left Heinz, I went teaching for a number of years, I suppose following many members of my family who were teachers. And I was teaching national school children, boys in particular, and then I did about 2 years in a special needs school. But having my four boys myself under the age of 5, they were all born in less than 5 years. No twins, Irish twins, all right, but not.
There's an award for somewhere for that, and there's an award.
No, well, there was a new television bought after that, but yeah, I decided no, teaching wasn't where I wanted to be. In that, spend all my time with children during the day and then come home to 4 more in the evening. And much and all as I loved it, so I kind of was at that crossroads in my life, and I thought, what was it I always loved to do? And payroll just jumped out at me. It was one of the jobs I had done with Unilever. And what I liked about it was it really made a difference to everybody. There was a beginning, a middle, and an end to it. So there was great satisfaction out of producing those pay slips and making sure that people got the right amount at the right time. So when I learned payroll initially, there was no formal training, but I discovered at that stage that there was. So I went off and did my formal training with the Irish Payroll Association, who subsequently asked me would I lecture for them. Oh. And I did, and that was fantastic, because there I was teaching a subject that I was really passionate about to people who really wanted to hear about it. So that was a lot easier than national school, dealing with so many little boys. Um, so from there, I saw that there was a real niche for knowledge in payroll queries. Um, and that's where I decided to found Paycheck Plus. Now, I had no idea what a payroll bureau consisted of. I'd never worked in an accountancy practice. I didn't know what it should be like. So I created it in a way that I felt would meet the needs of the customer. So I wasn't influenced, I suppose, by what was already there. I really had a clean sheet. And it was really about providing that information to our clients, and grew organically. Started in the garage here beside the house. When we built the house, it was going to be a garage, and during the build it was converted into my office. So that's back where I am now. So no one can ever say that I don't remember where I came from. Back home now, back in the garage again. And that was the start of Paycheck Plus, thinking that it would be very much a local service. And then one day I got a call from a company in Australia who asked about Irish payroll. And of course, once anyone asks me about payroll, I'm just so passionate I get carried away. And 3/4 of an hour later, they asked me, could I run their Irish payroll? And I said, of course. I suppose that was the eureka moment in realizing that if a company in Australia were happy to put their payroll in our hands, then why not other companies anywhere else? And I suppose that really made a difference to the business, and we started looking at the bigger picture. And what we really noticed was that companies that are coming into Ireland, they could be FDIs, their headquarters could be based in the States or in Canada or in Australia or wherever they may be. They don't know all the intricacies of payroll, and they're depending on someone like us to be here on the ground looking after their best interests and their employees' best interests. So that's where we focused a lot of our business. But from the compliance end, the piece I had learned in my earlier career, I realized that compliance is hugely important. And I set up the business that we would focus on the compliance related to financial services sector, because they were the most stringent. And we felt that if we met that level, then everyone else would benefit from it anyway. It was just part of the course. So the early years were really spent in putting those foundations in place, I suppose. And then the team was growing organically. And of course, the more people we can bring in, the more we can do and the more skills we have. And that has remained to this day, where people come into Paycheck Plus, they have to have that passion for payroll, the same passion that I felt then, because then they're fully committed to it. Then they want to learn more. Then they're able to share more with the clients. And that's what makes the real difference. So a few years ago, we actually started a graduate program where we're bringing in people who had never considered payroll as career. It's funny, most people never consider payroll as their career. They end up falling into it somewhere or another. And I kind of thought, this is a shame, because I feel so passionate about not just payroll, but the industry as well. So I approached our local university here in Dundalk, DKIT, and I spoke to them about the potential of offering a graduate program. And they kindly allowed me to speak to their accounting and finance students who were just about to sit their final exams. And some of them came up, I explained the role of the payroll person and what the job would consist of and what we did, and told them a bit about Paycheck Plus and my own story and all of that. And a lot of them came up afterwards and they said, I thought when I started this course, I wanted to be an accountant. And halfway through it, I realized that's not really what I want to do. And this sounds just perfect, because I love working with numbers. I love the connection with people. And this was it. So we started that program and it's been phenomenally successful. So as the graduates come in, we give them formal training. They attend their IPAS classes and we support them through that. They have their training days in-house with the team. They're sitting beside their buddy, who's their mentor, and they're learning on the job as well. Now, obviously, they don't send out payrolls for a considerable period of time, but they're growing and developing as they work their way through that. So that's a 3-year program, and the outcome of that has been hugely successful in building our own talent base who are coming in new. We're training them in, as the team call it, the Paycheck Plus way of doing things, and that has been really successful for us. So education is very much there. We've created what we call our coaching culture. Some of the feedbacks from our graduates has been that they feel that team members trip over each other to help them out and to answer questions, and being in the environment where they're hearing what's going on and issues that clients might have, and how the more senior people would look at addressing those issues. They're learning all of the time. And I think that's the real key to our success. It's keeping doing what we know best, and making sure that we're the best at doing that. And in 2017, I suppose one of my proudest moments of the business, we were awarded the best payroll provider in the world, which was phenomenal. And we've gone on to have several awards nationally and internationally as, one of the best payroll companies, and best individual, payroll manager or payroll specialist or whatever. So that's been great.
Amazing. I do have something I want to pick up on something you mentioned, because I've always had you hear stories as you go through life, and when you're talking to people, you're on stage, these stories can come back to you, and you can pull them out of your toolbox and use that story. And the reason why I'm saying this is because there's been a lot of talk about the corporation tax rate, America coming out saying for American companies 20% worldwide. And I was talking to a guy on my podcast yesterday, and we chatted about this, and the example and the story I went to my toolbox to use was Stripe announcing they're hiring 1,000 people across Ireland, and they've got this collaboration with UL. But I'm thrilled to say that I've now added a second story to that toolbox with Anne Reilly and Dundalk IT, with you helping out that as well. So thank you for making my life easier. You did mention you did mention multiple awards you've won. I'm looking at my screen here. Woman of Excellence 2014/15, Businesswoman of the Year 2012, Global Payroll Provider, as you mentioned, 2017. Recently, how I got to know of you is because you were included in an article titled Ireland's Top 30 Women in Tech for 2021. For anyone considering putting themselves forward for these awards, what would you say to them? Yeah, I'll leave it as open as that. What would you say to them are the benefits of putting yourself forward to these awards?
That's an interesting question. I suppose it's not about striving to win these awards. I think it helps us develop our bigger strategy. Well, first of all, acknowledge what we've achieved so far, because a lot of the time we're thinking, oh, well, I didn't get to do this and I didn't get to do that. But actually, when you sit down and you kind of try to put that award application together on things that you've done, you start to realize, gosh, I did that and we did that. And oh, that's pretty amazing. When you start compiling the list of things you've done. So to take that moment and actually acknowledge what we have done is great. And I suppose then you want to have something new for the next time, because if you enter something this year and you're not successful, well, then you're hoping, well, maybe I can improve on that next year. So I suppose there's a little bit of, it drives me maybe a little bit to keep developing and going forward and all the rest of something new again next year to bring out and put that forward. I think, I suppose one of the biggest benefits, certainly recognition is great for the company, and it gets our name out there. And that's ultimately what we want to do is spread the word about what we do, because we know we can help companies make things a whole lot better for them. But it's given us as a team that opportunity to celebrate something good and to see other members of the team going forward. I'm not interested in having more awards for myself. I don't care, about walking up to that stage. I get much more satisfaction out of seeing one of my team members walk up and take that stage, because they deserve it for the effort that they have put into it. And if we can create an application about them, and of course with our agreement, but to see them take the stage, that's when I know I've done a good job, because I've given them that opportunity, I've supported them, and that's what makes me really, really proud. Maybe it's the mother instinct, I'm not quite sure, but I actually get more satisfaction out of seeing them achieve than for myself. I've grown my own confidence in gaining those awards. Now I'd like to see others gaining confidence by winning for themselves, so.
Brilliant. You're a very busy person. I feel like I might be able to guess the answer to this, considering where you've moved back to and you've got 4 boys. But what do you like to spend time at when you're not busy at work?
I have to say, I'm not a very adventurous person. I have nothing really exciting or way out there to do. Family is probably the most important thing. And as I say, we've that very close network with all our cousins and whatever. We're very musical. I play piano, so that's a nice little outlet. I love the garden. I love nature, walking. I mean, around Clarhead, we have fabulous walks up along the back of the harbour, across the cliffs down to the beach and back around again. So I suppose it's around the garden. It's around, preparing for that family get together, having the barbecue or having that party and getting everything ready for that. That's I suppose where I'm most content in myself, and happy that we have the space, we have we would definitely have the fun. So we're well known to be a house where there's going to be a fun night, and that gives me great satisfaction. That's really my free time. The rest of it goes in education, I suppose. I'm doing a master's at the moment, so I suppose getting the assignments done, getting the reading done. And my mum and dad actually said to me not too long ago, now would you not give that up at this stage? Do you really need to be doing that? And I kind of said, I'm doing it because I really enjoy it. I mean, it's bringing huge advantages to developing the business, of course, and we have to keep pushing that as well. But for me, it's personal satisfaction. There's nothing I like more than sitting down to read a book about strategy, believe it or not, because I'm learning all the time and thinking, okay, so how could we apply that? And, that's the really interesting part. And coming back to the team, sharing that with them. And the great thing now is the culture that we have, they're actually coming to us and they were saying, actually, you know what, we were just thinking, what if we did such and such thing? And I'm kind of going, this is great. This is phenomenal. So during the lockdown, when things, that initial settling down thing, and I was thinking about what is it now we could do next, because we want to stay in payroll. That's where we really excel. And there were times when I felt there were opportunities to go into other areas like HR or accounting or whatever. But I said, no, we'll stick with doing what we do really, really well. And there were times when we had phone calls from companies who asked us if we could send one of our team in to help them out with payroll. And I kind of thought, no, we can't, because they have their relationship with their clients and all of that. So what we have launched in January is the Payroll Panel, which is a specialist payroll recruitment company, where we discuss the needs with the client, because we'll understand what they're trying to explain. We'll speak to the candidates. We'll understand where their skill sets really lie and how they could develop those further to meet certain vacancies that might come up. And when we place those candidates, we can actually offer them support in the first few weeks or months in their new role. So if they've covered 90% of the job in their previous experience, but there's 10% that they haven't covered, they lift the phone, they can ring into the team in the office, and we can take them through that. So that's something that no other recruitment company can offer, at least not yet. We're staying within our space of expertise. So, you asked a question about where do I like to spend my time. Now you've probably figured out it's very much around my work, because I just love it so much. And I'm thinking of other people in our sector, and a lot of payroll people are on their own, and it's a real back office activity. So they're fighting for resources. People only come to talk to them when something goes wrong, so they don't really get the recognition. And this was something I was thinking about. So what we did, we've had plenty of awards, and our team get great recognition, and we are a team of 30 people. So we get to talk to each other about payroll and all of that. But there were other people out there who were very much on their own, and we decided that we would change that. And we've created a network for those people called Payroll Professionals Ireland. And we started on LinkedIn. We've now moved to WhatsApp, and it's buzzing every day. And that's fantastic, with people sharing queries and questions and all the rest. So November, we decided that we would have a payroll awards night, which was all done virtually, very professionally. And we had different categories, and it gave those people an opportunity to put forward their application and get some recognition. And that's something I kind of feel, it's not that we're giving back, it's just, it brings me back to where I was in the beginning, having this passion for my job, but not having others around me to talk to about it. So by creating this network and getting those others involved, I think we can really promote the industry, both through our graduate program, at that level, that people actually enter the sector wanting to be a payroll professional rather than falling into it, but also for the people who are in it to have that support going forward. So the payroll panel is going very successfully, I have to say, even though we only launched it in January of this year. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that grow as well. It all ties very much together, keeping our area of expertise.
I've got two final questions for you, Anne. First question is, COVID lifts, whenever it lifts, the quarantine, whatever you want to call it, where's the first place you're going to?
Good question. Somewhere warm and sunny, somewhere with a nice sunbed beside a pool and a nice beach. I don't really mind what country that is. I'm open to that. A little bit of blue sky space, very much so. So a little bit of heat and sun. But in terms of actual destination, I don't really mind. I'll get on whatever plane is going wherever.
As long as it has a bit of sun. Nice. I want you to imagine it's the end of the decade and you're looking back. What would you like to have achieved if you're looking back from the end of the decade?
Well, I suppose personally, I'd love to see the four boys at the moment are all just, in the final stages of their various qualifications. My eldest boy is an astrophysicist, and he's involved in building Ireland's first satellite. So I'd love to see that he has launched that, and that has been the launch of his fantastic career.
That's amazing.
The second guy is an apprentice electrician, almost finished. So hopefully he will have, if not his own business, a really good job as an electrical manager. The third guy is a marine engineer. So at the moment he's out in the States. He's going between Alabama and Mexico with oil. So he wants to be the chief engineer. So I'd like that for him. And I hope that he comes home to visit his mommy fairly often. And the baby of the house
I'm
is
sure
also
he will.
Electrician. So I'd like to see all of them happy in their careers. And so far they seem to be really happy in their choices. So whatever that choice is, I hope that they're happy in it. And I suppose from the work aspect, my family at work, my team, I want to see them achieve their potential and to be happy in their role, wherever they are and whatever they're doing. I think being happy in what you do and being passionate about it, you don't feel like you're going to work. So it's actually enjoying life and see everyone happy and healthy. That's the biggest thing. Still be with my husband, still have my parents and siblings and cousins and the bigger family around me. If I have that, I'll be a really happy woman.
And it's been an absolute pleasure chatting with you. I wish you every success in the future. I hope your four boys achieve everything they want to achieve. You and your husband enjoy being back home in Louth, and that your business continues to grow. But from my end, thank you very much for your time today.
Thanks, Rian. A pleasure.